Well, hello everybody. My name is Harrison Dubasar. There's a picture of me as requested via the instructions. I am a first and a half or so year grad student. I right now work with Florida Highway Patrol, and this is a presentation on the Emergency Management Accreditation Program, and we're going to refer to it as EMAP throughout the presentation. So, EMAP is an independent nonprofit organization which is meant to help establish credible standards for emergency management plans and a peer review accreditation process. This will basically streamline all issues relating to developing emergency management plans, programs, and it services a wide variety of groups leading or anything from state agencies to states themselves to international communities such as Ottawa in Canada, also the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or the Center for Disease Control. And then here's just basically a map of every the scope of where it is within at least the United States. So who is EMAP? EMAP is made up of a commission of 10 members, five of which are selected by the International Association of Emergency Managers, five selected by the National Emergency Managers Association. They serve 3-year terms. Under them is a program review committee, a private sector committee, a technical committee, excuse me, and then an international committee. And then, of course, they're supported by a very small program staff. Um, so this accreditation is important. First we have to mention it is voluntary, and it's important to state and local emergency management programs, especially to demonstrate this compliance with national emergency management standards, to streamline the emergency management process, and then, of course, to focus attention on areas and issues where resources are needed. Before we get into the details of what EMAP is and what the standards are, just a quick example from what we've all been learning. We talked about Hurricane Andrew, right? And Hurricane Andrew came and devastated South Florida in 1992. And here's just a picture of the devastation. And so we had, first Miami-Dade County responding, and then Miami-Dade had to try and coordinate with FEMA, and who's supposed to coordinate the two? Well, our state, Florida. But there was no streamlined emergency management process at this time in which all three, the county, the state, and the federal government, could have the same process. And so, as we know, the the response did not necessarily match up with each other from each agency, federal, national, and local. This was a rough implementation of their own emergency management plan because it was not necessarily coordinated, as we've all seen in our readings. So that's just an example of why having this streamlined process is important. So now let's talk about the process. The process itself, it relies on the emergency management standard. That's a book pictured right there, that it discusses 64 separate standards in which, if you're looking to apply for accreditation or get accredited, that you have to meet, just to name a couple: mutual aid, operational planning, facilities, training, exercises. These are all things that are going to be outlined in this standard book. So, what are the actual steps to accreditation? Well, first, subscription. You subscribe to the website emaponline.org, this is pretty much what we're going off of for a lot of this presentation. It's a very helpful website. And when you subscribe, you're going to have to start looking at that book that we just looked at before, the 64 standards, and make sure that you meet all of them. After subscription, you conduct the self-assessment, which is based off of those 64 standards. Do I, or my agency, do we meet, or my state, do we meet these 64 separate standards? After conducting your self-assessment, you can then go ahead and complete the paper application, which can be found online. After submitting the application to the EMAP Commission, they'll come out and do an on-site assessment. This on-site assessment is very in-depth. Again, it goes off of the 64 standards to keep that streamlined process going. Once the on-site assessment is conducted, the EMAP Commission will submit an assessment report to the program committee for committee review. The committee will then review. The program committee will then review the findings of the commission, and they'll send back a recommendation. Then the commission will deliberate, and of course, if they pass, they get accreditation. They'll have plenty of opportunities to, go ahead and further their accreditation if they don't get it the first time. But, anyways, to stay within the 5 minute cap, that was a very brief description of EMAP, and I just want to show you some of the references I used. emaponline.org. They have everything from the 64 standards to even a shop if you want to get a shirt that says EMAP on it. The next one, of course, is the actual reference to the standard book. If for your own personal inquiries, you can go there. And then we all recognize the third one, Schneider. That's, of course, referencing the Hurricane Andrew case study that we had. Well, anyways, go ahead and please leave me some questions. I'm happy to respond to them. I'll keep checking back, and I hope everybody has a good rest of the week.